And welcome back. We're here for the fifth match of the World Peace Tournament, round one. This time we've got Chaospringle, who actually just beat the any percent world record by 9 frames, literally right before this.
Yeah. What's up?
And and then we've also got Kanikama, who is not in the call for interviews, unfortunately, but he'll put on a good show. He just PB'd in World Peace a couple days ago. So yeah, Chaos, since we've got you here. I know you don't do world peace that much, but half of it is any percent. So, how are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good about the 80% parts.
I'm shocked to hear that answer. Are there any boss fights or clips in particular that give you the heebie-jeebies?
I can't wait to miss Sewer Clip and Snow Clip 20 times.
Okay.
It's gonna be
That will be
Okay,
certainly
good.
exciting to watch.
yeah.
Yep. PB wise, you have a 120 30-ish, and Kanikama has a 119 30-ish.
Mock us.
Which
So
they're both kind of in the ballpark, and I think there's enough
Yeah.
things in world peace that kind of ruin the flow sometimes that this could be a very close race. Something to mention is that they're both on 1.0, so we will see the first moon skip and we will see the sewer clip in this race, which could also add to some of the choke points, I think. So
yeah, this is going to be a really good one. But both of these guys are really, really skilled at the game. I'm excited for this one. Ugh. Well, any other thoughts you've got, Mr. Chaospringle?
Nah, not really. Ready to get this over with.
Just focused, yeah. All right. Well, if you're ready, then we're good to go. You can go ahead and exit the call, and then head over to the start screen, and we'll get rolling.
See you.
Good luck.
all right.
This is going to be a great match.
I have been looking forward to this one. I could actually say that about a lot of the races. They've all been very exciting, and seeing some of the matchups and seeing, again, like I said in the last race, seeing some of these any percent runners out of their element, having to do a little bit of a detour in the game and tackle some of the things they don't usually do is a very exciting prospect.
Yep, absolutely. It's really cool how this tournament has brought out so much more activity to World Peace. The
Indeed.
leaderboards have really filled out, especially on the 1.0 side of things.
That's true, yeah, and that again, that kind of goes to show that like the any percent runners, the ones who are taking these very optimal routes through the game, are giving some interest to something else that the game has to offer.
Mm-hmm. I believe we're just waiting on Kanikama here, and then we will be underway.
Yes, indeed. It might be just brought up in chat that Kanikama might be the first Japanese runner to participate in a Super Mario Odyssey tournament. He was apparently in the any percent tournament as well, but he's also taking part in this one. I think that's really the cool thing about GSA is that they really are trying to bring in the entire community of speedrunning together. I've noticed them do a really good job of that. Like, I know that Cheese and like Acrid, for example, they're both Spanish, they're both European. There's a lot of European runners, Tylotech, Timpani. There's a lot of people in North America. I feel like North America gets a lot of the focus, of course. There's even some runners that are from Australia and from some of the places in Asia, like Singapore and stuff like that. And it really kind of brings out the entire community to a single place where we can all get together over this game, which is really cool, I think. And it's going to be a really good showcase. I know, like, I kind of marvel at some of the Japanese runners' approach to the way that they run. It tends to be kind of chaotic and crazy. Like, if you've ever watched Goryuya run this game, it's like watching a madman, really. Some of the things that he does is just like absolutely insane. And sometimes it just looks for show, if you ask me, but that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. This game it's just great. It appeals to everybody. I mean, it's also really nice that there's no region locking whatsoever. the
Yes.
Switch, so everyone is on a completely even playing field. Well, outside of versions, but that's a whole other mess. But
Yes.
the
Indeed.
leaderboards are split to reflect it. Anyway, not to take sides here, but do you have a prediction for the winner of this one? It's going to be two different styles, with Chaos obviously being the superior any percent runner, but Kanikama, I believe, is much better versed when it comes to world peace and its little specific details.
Indeed, and I think that might be what pulls him through at the end of this race. Chaos displaying a little bit of anxiety and nervousness towards some of the world peace sections of this game, but he is overall an incredibly consistent runner. Out of all of the other runners in this game, in fact, I don't think I've ever seen a more consistent runner than Chaospringle. Is just like incredible how many any percent runs he's able to get on world record pace into the late game. Just phenomenal. But again, it's unfamiliar territory. He doesn't have a record posted to the current world peace leaderboards, which means he hasn't run it very many times. So this could be potentially what brings him down in this race, but we'll just have to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd get the edge to Kanikama as well. Chaos' style is very much consistency. So I think, he really shines when he's doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Indeed,
so
yes.
Shake it up for him could throw a wrench in his plans here.
And he said Seaside was the kingdom that was going to cause him the most stress. And, if things go wrong in Seaside, it's potentially a huge time loss, especially the boss fight. So we'll just have to see how this goes.
And we're off here. Not too much of a difference at the start here, obviously. These guys know what they're doing. Although that opening segment can be annoyingly difficult to get just the right way you want it. It's very easy to lose a second trying to go for that lever pull.
Just good old Cap Kingdom. And of course, these guys have done this a million times. It's going to look exactly the same as it does in any percent.
Yep. All right. Left side shouldn't be a problem, I would guess. We are practically in sync here. This is beautiful.
It is gorgeous. We might see a lot of that up until Sand.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose we could see a little bit of trouble with FMS. I'm not sure if Kanikama has adopted the new method of doing it, but I suppose we'll have to see.
I'm gonna guess no. As we said during the last one, no real reason to, reinvent the wheel if you already know how to use the current one.
Exactly. Especially if the current one is faster as it is.
Yeah. Looks like a 222 and a 223 for Chaos and Kanikama respectively.
Just breaking the sync a little bit,
Yeah.
but otherwise keeping it very close.
Oh, Kanikama is actually going for new FMS here, while Chaos is going for the normal one and having some trouble.
Wouldn't you look at that? And it looks
So
like Kanikama is also having some trouble too, so
okay, well,
interesting to see.
Yeah, interesting comparison. It's a shame that they both didn't nail it so you could get a really good visual.
But at least they only missed it once.
Yep. So again, I think Chaos got just the slightly better deal out of that, because it is easier to reset when you're not in the water. But no biggie.
Yeah, it's kind of curious, like, I never really thought of it that way. If you were to fail both of those strats one time, which one would be faster to recover? Probably the water one, because you're closer already.
Really, I'm not sure if I agree, because you kind of need to line yourself up position-wise, and you know, with the river flowing down, you can get pushed around, and I'm very afraid of water physics. So
Indeed, indeed. Especially in a kingdom that you don't really need to bother with them for the most part. Best to leave them alone.
some good brutal fights from the boys here, naturally.
Making it look easy, as they do.
And Chaos to see that he's changed his camera to be looking at the moon. That's to prevent Mario from actually just going straight through the moon, which can happen with that one because it's on screen for such little time. The hitbox is not actually activated yet because things don't exist if they're not on camera in this game.
Yes, this game has an interesting way of spawning things in, and it can be frustrating, but we can also manipulate it in many different ways.
Yeah. Kanikama taking a slight bonk there, so no big deal. We are seeing a slight gap develop. Of course, this is the part that should favor Chaos. This is all 80%, but it'll get really shaken up here in Sand Kingdom.
Yes, it's very much possible that it'll get turned on its head in this upcoming kingdom. I noticed that Kanikama was practicing the new route in Sand right before this race began. It's very likely that he's going to go for it. Chaos likely to go for it as well, considering he's been keeping up with all of the world peace talks as of late. But like we've mentioned before, Kanikama is probably a little bit more versed in having to do this kind of movement, so, and perhaps more improvisation as well.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it off faster.
Yeah, during setup here, Chaos actually mentioned that he has the route notes open alongside him just in case he needs to reference it.
Indeed, he's got the cheat sheet.
That really shows how improvisational this run's going to be for him.
Yeah, and we do really drive home the consistency factor. Chaospringle is an 80% runner that can play at an optimal level within 30 seconds of his PB, but that's only, or sorry, his summon best rather. But that's, of course, taking into consideration that, you know, he plays it a lot. Yes. And he knows he's got the route down like the back of his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he's PB'd at the highest level of any percent, like almost every other day for
which
the
is
past
absolutely nutty.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. He is truly the best player in this game right now.
I would say so.
80%.
And they are both going for the dram route, it looks like. And again, Chaos has done this 1,000,001 times before, so I highly doubt he's going to miss, but he did, in fact. Wow. Commentator's curse. It always happens. We should just not say anything.
No. it going well for Kanikama, though, so the lead has been flipped here.
Indeed.
I would imagine that Chaos may have been thrown off by the slightly different timing of the platform there, because you are getting it to that moon for Dram at a slightly different timing because you're skipping out on Dune Moon.
And you're also skipping out on the beneath the sands or whatever, the ground pound moon in the pipe.
Both of them getting super clean first try IP clips here.
Indeed. Making it look very easy. Kanikama's still got probably about 5-second advantage. And 80% never comes in here. You can tell Kanikama is a little bit more used to the route. He pulled off the camera manipulation before grabbing that first bullet bill into the area. Chaos just opting to take the damage. It looks like Kanikama actually took damage from different bullet bills further along the path, so he's still going to have to heal at some point. Or actually, no, he goes right to Harriet, I guess, so there is no worry about healing in this particular route. If he were to grab the Secret of the Inverted Mural Moon, however, you would need to heal, and you would lose time there, but it's not as bad anymore now that that's been routed out.
Yeah. Chaos actually on 1 HP here, but he should be able to grab the heart right before the fight, no problem.
Or he could risk it.
Oh, that's true, that's true.
He's going to play it safe.
Okay.
Good strategy.
Probably a smarter move. very unlikely that he would take damage during this fight, but no need to risk the entire race so early on.
Indeed. And this Harriet fight, just like the one in Bowser's, has a bit of manipulation. Depending on where you stand, depending on the direction you're facing, you can attempt to make Harriet jump the minimum amount of times per section. And as well, this scene here where Harriet jumps across, or like flies across and starts dropping her bombs. If you know which direction she's going to go for the next bomb drop, you can kind of be on the opposite side so that her journey is shorter. You can see that Kanikama took advantage of that, and Chaospringle, perhaps not knowing exactly where that was going to be. And these little time saves, or these little time losses rather, are going to add up, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Devil's in the details.
Indeed.
Got into Night's Hand here. This is where the fun begins with the more interesting recent route development.
Yes, that's right. And the old route was very much teleport, go into the hole, and you're done. But this bullet bill juggling is basically the roots of this new strat. This caged moon that they get is not available during the daytime and is only available nighttime and onwards, but it is really fast if you're in the area, which is what makes this route so viable.
Yeah. So Kanikama wants to make this very next bullet bill cycle in time before it hits that little platform there. It looks like he should be able to make it just fine.
Yeah.
And Chaos, messing it up just a little bit here.
He's opting to break the cage first and then go back.
This is different. He's actually getting the moon right now. I say this is his unfamiliarity with the route coming into play here. I believe that is definitely not what you want to do.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. There was a strat kind of developed in the style of what Chaos just did, where you would release the bullet bill and then come back for it after collecting those 2 moons, but he grabbed that moon right away.
No. And Kanikama actually just rolling and jumping his way over to the luggage moon instead of taking the bullet bill.
That's very interesting.
He had to deal with the zombies because of that. Normally you could just fly over them. So I'm not sure if that was intended or not, or if his bullet bill ran out sooner than he expected it to, but...
Either way, he's in the ice caverns now. This section is always like a really fun one to run. There was a chest moon that we used to get in this particular section, and the movement to that was a lot of fun, but I would actually argue that the new stuff that we do is even more so, because you take advantage of bullet bill speed manipulation here. Oh no, and Kanikama's missing the bullet bill on the jump there.
Oof.
That's a rough one, but luckily that is the bullet bill that has the checkpoint right before it, and it's going to actually put these guys right on pace again.
Okay, Chaos going for the up throw strat there. That one is actually easier in some ways if you know what you're doing, in my opinion.
Yes, it's it's more forgiving in timing, I think. Kanikama missed it again, but was able to back it up by landing on the bullet bill launcher, so he's not losing too much time here. Chaos nabs the second one as well, and Kanikama does a good job.
Alright, first World Peace boss fight. Old Necrotic.
A very straightforward fight here. And like I mentioned last race, there are a couple of optimizations that have been discovered for this fight. Kanikama actually maybe just showing off a little bit, perhaps. Doing a little waddle percent strategy.
Of course.
But the optimal play here is actually to roll in between the fists as they're charging towards you and to the opposite end of the arena. And I think that has something to do with the time that it takes for the face to get to the middle of the arena again. Also, when you capture the last fist, it's been noted that for some reason you get a little bit of delay on being able to shake. We think that has something to do with how many times you boosted with the fists in the first 2 phases. So if you actually only shake once for the other 2 phases, the 3rd phase you can immediately shake afterwards. It's a really weird kind of concept, but you see Chaos there had to like kind of slowly curve around on that last hit.
Chaos
That can be
also
avoided.
using the tech to stand right in front of Knuckle Tech's face so that the icicle platform things kind of spawn right there.
Indeed,
Instead,
yeah.
Chaos had to go over to the edge of the arena with the hand.
Not to mention that you do have to try and actively dodge them if you're not right in front of his face as well, which makes things a little bit more difficult for this fight. And it looks like just from that fight alone, Kanikama was able to make up the ground, and he is about 2 seconds ahead now. Still a very close race. And the first World Peace Kingdom is over. Chaos is going to have the advantage in the next one, assuming they both pick Lake.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Could pull a Miwi on us. But wow, I mean, this has been back and forth for just a couple of seconds the whole time. This is great.
Very close. I'm very interested to see how Wooded goes. I have not seen Kanikama run this category personally. It'll be interesting to see what strategies he takes. And it'll be interesting to see how Chaos deals with all of the little intricacies that World Peace Wooded has that any percent doesn't. Because there are a lot of things in World Peace Wooded that are very risky and very tricky, that if you don't pull them off right, you're going to be losing a lot of time. One thing we haven't seen yet in this tournament is a miss on the tower skip. Nobody has died there yet, so I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but
that would be devastating.
That could happen.
I think overall it's not the most difficult trick if you take your time with it. Oh, Kanikama missing the vault there, but good backup with the cap return jump.
Indeed. Knew what to do.
Yep.
And that's going to be a perfect zipper zinc right there. Oh, Kanikama missing the zipper on the end, though.
That can be so frustrating. It's hard to tell exactly when you need to turn those corners. And
that's right, yeah. And it is optimal to like hold left as soon as you finish that zipper so that you can kind of dive out.
Chaos
having some fish nonsense. But yeah, just juggling it back and forth. It's amazing.
Yeah. Both very nice spawn on that pillar moon there. The spin attack with the Cheep Cheep actually has a massive hitbox.
Huge.
And it gets delayed over a very long period of time. So you can kind of do it beforehand and then swim into the pillar and it still counts.
That's right. And like this fish spin attack thing is so overpowered. You can collect moons with it as well. And because it has such a big hitbox, you can be like a good 3 fish lengths away and collect moons. And, you know, that's in any percent specifically, it comes in handy because under the dangerous ceiling, you can just like turn the fish like so that it's vertical, do the spin attack, and collect the moon. Same with the Northern Reaches moon. Same with the crevice right before you teleport. You can collect all those moons early and save yourself like a good 1.5 seconds just from all that. It's crazy. So a little bit of a weird lake from both of these runners. It looks like they made about the same amount of mistakes. Chaos is back to being about 2 or 3 seconds behind, just as he was in Sand. And this kingdom up here is going to be the make or break, I think. This is one of the turning points in any percent, and it's definitely one of the choke points in World Peace as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think the hardest kingdom is in World Peace?
In World Peace, that's a good question. I'm not the most familiar with the category, so right now I struggle with Luncheon a lot, but I think it's a lot due to unfamiliarity. But
right,
Luncheon's always hard.
A lot.
Yeah, that one's very different compared to the any percent Luncheon. But I would say Luncheon's probably the most difficult that's exclusive to World Peace. I don't find Metro to be too terribly difficult. And
I would say Metro is easier in World Peace.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Just because a lot of the moons are story moons, you kind of know that you have to go talk to the musicians. The movement isn't terribly difficult for those either. You still have Scoop Clip. That's still a thing. If I was on 1.0, I might be doing Sewer Clip, which is probably a nightmare. But aside from that, I guess the trumpeter jump, the one that you get after the cafe towards
It can be
trumpeter.
tricky if
Yeah.
you're going for the fastest strategy on that. Now, in terms of wooded, I actually think the world piece is quite a bit easier than any percent, just due to the fact that nut clip is not required.
Not required, indeed. It does save a good chunk of time, but not as much as completely rerouting any percent.
Mhm.
So Kanikama gets the clip. Chaos just missing the clip, unfortunately, having to take the way around. But both of these runners are opting to pull the lever.
See, and you can see this is where the changes start to come into play. You can tell that Chaos isn't quite totally sure of the exact optimal movements here. Looks like he was kind of doing some old 80% style uproot movement there. It's certainly been a while.
Indeed. That particular uproot chunk hasn't been in any percent, the optimal any percent route for quite a while now, so...
Chaos scared me for a second there. I thought he was making a trip to Deep Woods, but he's all right.
He made it over.
Yeah. Kanikama missed the poison jump.
Yeah, losing a little bit of time. He's going to have to heal after the story moon as well. Just bridging the gap ever so slightly. But there is a big jump coming up here that may throw either of these runners off. Of course, Flower Road skip. Both of these runners are very capable of that one. We'll just have to see how the tower skip goes.
Yep.
And we got almost perfect sync on the collection of this moon here.
Oh, Kanikama. Oh, he
no!
misses it. Oh, don't go to Deep Woods. Don't go to Deep Woods. Okay.
Oh, that was so close.
He was
Chaos
actually,
taking this.
he was moving in that direction. There is a Deep Woods entrance on that side of the tower.
That's true. Oh no,
Oh.
Kanikama.
Oh, he tried to save himself. Okay, he's playing with fire with that Deep Woods. Oh, but this is a great lead for Chaos.
Yes. This could be the deal breaker.
Yeah.
Chaos had a very messy tower skip, you could say, but on the contrary, because Kanikama missed it entirely, as well as a second Flower Road skip, so he's going to have a lot of time to make up here.
Yeah. You can certainly tell that Kanikama was going for a bit cleaner, trickier flower or tower skip there.
Yeah, there are a bunch of different
quite
ways
pan
to
out.
go about it. I find that there's one beam that kind of runs parallel with the way that you're jumping, that if you kind of run alongside it and do your dive back towards it, you're usually pretty safe. There's also kind of a lip on the outside bowl of that platform, and as long as you dive up in there, you're usually pretty good to go, but still a very scary jump.
Chaos taking his time to adjust his camera beforehand. It's not a bad idea, because if you don't do that, you can actually get quite a bit of lag in that segment, and it can sometimes cause you to lose the jump.
It's true, yep. I've heard that it's ruined a couple runs before for some runners. And this jump is particularly scary if you're not used to it as well, because you've got the rocket flower going.
Yeah.
You got to make your way over this like treacherous, very thin platform. All right, now we're gonna do a little target practice.
Chaos shooting just a tad too early. You want to reach it to that just little mound in the flowers there.
Yeah,
About that range is when the shots actually start connecting.
again, little things. It's all coming down to the little details in these kingdoms that he's not familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, Kanikama took quite the tumble there for a while, but I would not be surprised at all if he inches closer and closer to Chaos over these mid-game kingdoms.
Indeed. MSSL specifically. That entire chunk is unique to World Peace. Kanikama, very clean target practice. Now we'll see how Chaos fares with Speedy Nutboy. I didn't actually see either of the runners in the last race pull off the quick nut strats.
No, I don't believe they did, no. It can be tricky.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And the fight, because you get to the glowy orbs faster, and the glowy orbs don't move if you get to them in time. But it does look like Chaos is not entirely familiar with the speedy nut strats.
No, so what you want to do is you want to...
he is.
You want to jump off of the little spawn platform there, right as you're falling off of it. There's a little ledge, and for whatever reason, if you do it at the right spot with the right timing, when you land, you'll just immediately start running at a slightly faster speed, and you won't have any delay to your hops.
Yeah, and it makes the difference. It's like probably like 0.2 or 0.3 of a second delay in each jump that you do. Chaos, oh, he was down to 1 health.
Making it scary.
there was a heart in that block, so he's gonna be okay, I think. Just making things interesting. Kanikama knows about Speedy Nut. He's definitely got the no buffer on his lands there.
Yeah, Chaos also had a little mishap with one of the orbs that you have to hit, so Kanikama should be gaining time here if he finishes it off well.
Yeah, he's approaching the last phase of this fight. Chaos just finishing up. It looks like Chaos still has a lead, probably about 20 seconds.
And good news for Chaos, we're going back to 80% for 2 kingdoms.
Indeed. 2 short ones, anyways.
Up first, we've got Cloud, where of course we're just fighting Bowser once for the first time, and then we'll see him again in Moon. But that should be no problem. The only thing I could see happening there is maybe a death getting up to it. The Clouds can be a little bit trolly on whether or not they want to pop out or not.
Indeed. And I've seen a couple of top 80% runners do a strat that probably saves maybe half a second if we're talking optimization, but it involves kind of like rolling off the platform, and I don't know, it looks very scary, and I'm not sure if Chaos is one to go for that himself, but things have gone horribly wrong with that particular strategy, and the Cloud platform kind of bursts and pushes you away and makes things messy.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what strat Chaos chooses to go for here. Okay, a bit of a safer one.
It's a safe one for sure. Not a lot to this fight, really.
Nope.
Of course, there is a couple of optimizations that you probably wouldn't know about as a casual player of the game. Most notably, this very fast approach to Bowser. A casual player would not probably be brave enough to stand right next to him as he's throwing the hats forward at you, but optimally you can just jump over them with a backflip, throw your cap and capture it right away. There's also a strategy involving standing somewhat behind him as you're punching him to send him to a specific platform, and it'll force him to do fewer jumps on his transition phase, which will save small amounts of time as well. So
that's right, because Bowser will always hop to the platform directly opposite the player. So if you send him to the platform that's right next to that one, it's going to be a shorter trip for him.
Exactly. Both players taking advantage of that. Very clean Cloud on both parts, it looks like.
And then up next, we've got the very high skill Lost. This is truly the kingdom that shines the most when you're at the top level of the game. It's just so fast paced. There's so much going on. I love this kingdom.
It's so quick too. It goes by so fast. But it's definitely like, it's satisfying because you know that you've done it right because you got to the end, basically. It's one of those kingdoms that, like, if you make a mistake in it, you basically lose 20 seconds somewhere. It's just, you die. There's no other option for mistakes most of the time here. But that's why the good 80% players have gotten it down so good. It's just because you have to, and it's such a satisfying tech kingdom as well. You've got all of these like crazy spin pounds, jumping over poison, avoiding poison in different ways, and not to mention the cage triple, which is a very risky strat that is really swaggy to pull off, to say the least.
Chaos approaching said cage triple jump here.
And we will probably see both of these runners going for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't expect any issues.
Yes. Chaos makes it look easy.
And then I really like that transition into a spin pound straight under to that bridge moon.
Yes, me too.
The spacing there works out perfectly so that if you just do a spin pound roll or a ground pound roll off that platform, the ledge just happens to time it perfectly to be at the correct height for the moon.
And then all you have to do is dive.
Yep.
Yeah, both of these players making this kingdom look extremely easy. When you factor in the transition animation of that, of putting the moons into the Odyssey, it looks like Chaos has about a 28-second lead over Kanikama at the moment.
Again, we are entering the crunch time now, though.
Yes, these are the kingdoms that Kanikama can make up the most ground, I think. Night Metro, nothing particularly fancy here. You do just grab one extra moon from the 80% route. That is the Swaying in the Breeze moon, which happens right after the Goombas, right before you enter City Hall. It changes the movement slightly, adds a couple more seconds to the route, but very quick moon, and it's in the way, so that's why we get it.
Chaos getting the Goomba bop. That's a fun jump.
Very slick little strategy.
Yeah.
Of course, it always sucks to just roll right off the cliff, or right off the building, rather.
It can happen. Sometimes the Goomba moves at the last second, and you have to just bunk the ledge, or you'll jump right over the Goomba and have to take it slow.
Yeah.
Ooh, speaking of bonk, Kanikama missing the roll on the ledge there.
Just
That's a big
bopping.
deal.
Popping on the top of the roof. Could have been much worse. Could have fallen off the building.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then City Hall. Chaos leaving right as Kanikama enters. This is all 80% stuff. Very much ingrained into the route. Now, here's the real question, though. Which is a worse boss fight? Cookatiel or Mecha Wiggler?
I think I have to hand it to Cookatiel on that one. Mecha Wiggler has true RNG to it, in that you can get bad patterns, and his hitboxes can be troublesome depending on what kind of pattern you get. But Cookatiel's hitboxes are always broken.
It's true. That is a very good point. I find that Wiggler is situationally broken, whereas Cookatiel is just straight up broken.
Yep. Bit of a strange pattern for Chaos, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, makes it look easy still. Not entirely optimal, but only a couple seconds, not that big a deal. We'll see what Kanikama gets for a second phase here. Looks like he's gonna get something a little bit more manageable, perhaps.
He's got some awkward gaps here. Oh, this is...
That looks troublesome.
Oh.
Oh, he just gets it at the last second there. There was some awkward crossing kind of in the middle part of his run there that
Mm-hmm.
made things really tricky, but he's got it.
Yeah, as you can see, the hitboxes there on those last couple of orbs almost doomed Kanikama. That first shot he took at the higher one looked like it should have connected, but of course
But it
got
didn't, of
blocked.
course. As this boss goes sometimes. But we're going to enter the day metro portion, and like we mentioned earlier, this is probably the easiest of the World Peace Kingdoms as far as like route changing and stuff goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it is still new territory, so it'll be interesting to see how Chaos and Kanikama both respond to these changes. And it looks, I think Chaos is going for the newest, most optimal route for 1.0, and that is the Who Piled Garbage on this route. He's going to be skipping bench friends. Both of the runners in the previous run getting bench friend rather.
Actually, I believe maybe we skipped him.
Oh, yeah, that's right, actually, yeah.
Also worth mentioning, the Chaos did mess up the Dram strat right at the beginning of this kingdom with the Girder Moon.
That's right. A couple seconds there, but Kanikama also taking the scoot clip really slowly by the looks of it. And he is going to be going for bench friend here.
All right.
So unlike the other route changes, I think Sand, we're looking at like 7 to 8 seconds optimally for this new route. Seaside, we're looking at like 8 to 10 optimally. Metro, these changes are only saving about 2 seconds optimally. So not as big of a comparison.
Yeah, Metro is a tricky kingdom route-wise because you kind of have to operate based off the central location with Pauline. So
It's
any
true.
which way you go, it's really going to be about the same. Plus, you just need so many moons in this one that you're gonna be getting most of the easily available ones, no matter what.
Yeah, that's very true. If they're along the way, you might as well nab them. Now, this part can always be confusing to tell who's in the lead, just because some runners might take a different approach to getting some of the moons, and like what order they get the musicians in. Chaos here is about to go for the trumpeter jump here. And he nails it, no problem.
Very nice, very nice. Just one guy left for him down at the park.
I think he just needs the guitarist, correct?
That is correct, yep. I always get confused which one's the bassist and which is the guitarist.
The bass has the 4 strings on it.
Oh, okay. This is where my lack of musical knowledge comes into play.
Also, the bassist says OTEP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the OTEP guy.
OTEP
he's-
would be the bassist.
Yeah, he's the cool one.
Yep.
He's not the star of the party, but he's there. He's being cool. All right, Chaos has all the musicians now. Kanikama taking. Oh, they both actually just bumped on that doorway at the same time. That's a classic one.
Well, we'll see if Chaos has good luck with Sewer Clip here. This is Kanikama's chance if Chaos has some issues, which this one can be strange. It's definitely a unique timing to the roll cancel clip.
Indeed. And the positioning is very interesting as well. The backflip is really important, and like your positioning against the wall really makes a difference for this one, I think.
Yeah. This is actually, Chaos' setup here looks a little different from what I'm used to. I see most people line themselves up kind of halfway on the thick part of the pipe there, but he just
Yeah,
went through
the
it,
entrance
so-
part. And we'll see if Kanikama can make up some time here. He's definitely going for the visual strat, and it's
Wow.
paying off. That's what I mean. I don't think it really has anything to do with the left or right. It has more to do with your distance away from the wall. And because there's a very good visual cue for that, Kanikama is taking advantage of that and not even bothering with the backflip. And that paid off big time. He made up probably about 20 seconds on Chaos just now.
Yeah, it's suddenly a very close race once again.
Yes. With 3 more Kingdoms of World Peace exclusive content to go, this could open up the gap significantly. We also still have the festival as well. And it's not unheard of to die in the festival. It's a very dangerous.
We've had some
place.
close calls with that in this tournament so far. Stravos in particular comes to mind.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I think we did have one death in the festival in this this tournament already. Actually,
Really?
JK Beef took a fall to it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's certainly certainly a bad place to die as well, because just like the escape sequence at the end, or dying in ruin, which I mean nobody does anymore, but it spits you right back. Who would do that? That's a silly thing to do. Hopefully Commentators Curse doesn't bite us for that one. But it sends you right back to the beginning if you mess it up, which is not optimal, not a good choice. Alright, both of these runners going through. Neither have taken damage yet.
No, very nice.
A very, very peaceful festival, as it should be.
Now, is sliding against the wall there, like Chaos and Kanikama just did for that coin segment, actually the best? Or I was under the impression that you want to kind of angle yourself.
Yeah, you kind of do want to cut the corner, so to speak. So you want to start kind of in the middle of the falling section, and then as soon, like, not directly at the wall, but like trying to cut it as close as you can to use your momentum to kind of push you further into it, I suppose.
Right. Either way, not a huge deal.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe 0.3 of a second in a situation like that. But Chaos had a very clean festival. Kanikama did close the gap with his sewer clip. So we're not quite as far apart as we were one kingdom ago.
Yep, just about 7 seconds between these two.
Indeed. Approaching snow, which is another, I would say, one of the biggest choke points in this run.
Yeah, if Chaos struggles as much with Snow Clip as he did with Sewer Clip, and Kanikama once again first tries it, I think we could see a lead change here.
Indeed, yep. Chaos may opt to try the moon clip in snow in order to save some time. We'll see if he's actually had any practice in that. That's kind of hard to tell, but
I'm surprised that one has not become more commonplace in any percent yet, but I really don't see that many people going for it.
well, it's a bit of a tricky one, and as far as any percent goes, it doesn't save that much time compared to the just diving down, I suppose. But the way that Acrid does it, Acrid has kind of the chokehold on that strategy, because he's a madman when it comes to that clip. He goes full on. He does the spin pound, gets the clip no problem, and then like spin pounds in the out of bounds section towards the opening of the door, and it just like it blows my mind the crazy stuff that some of these runners go for.
No. Again, and any percent of the snow clip is only used to just get to the archway room just a little bit faster.
Exactly. Whereas in all the other categories, the clip is essential for making it through snow to begin with.
Yep.
And so this has made it very optimal, because you don't have to try and go for the roll cancel clips, which are inconsistent at best and infuriating at worst. All right, and Chaos did not get the moon clip. And Kanikama didn't try for the moon clip either. But Chaos is through the wall, and he's into the loading zone. That was a bit risky.
I was worried he was going to get stuck behind it there. You can actually get stuck at the bottom of the slide behind the loading zone.
Yeah, I thought he was a little bit too far forward there.
The only option there is to warp back to the Odyssey.
Yeah. Luckily, that is not what we have to do here. And we're approaching Bound Bowl. It looks like Kanikama had a bit of a better chance, or a bit of a better time with his roll cancel clip, making just a couple seconds back. And we're going to be racing Bound Bowl around the same time here.
I'm gonna wager 57 for these guys. Maybe 56 for Kanikama.
Kanikama has a 119. I'm gonna say he's gonna get a 55. And sorry, Chaos, but I'm gonna say you're gonna get a 101.
A 101. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm giving you an over 1 minute on this one. And really, optimal bound bowl comes down to a couple of different things. And a lot of people don't realize that there are different levels of bounding, I suppose. You can continue along the track without bounding at all. And you can just press no buttons and he'll do kind of like a roll along the ground. But then there's also varying strengths of bounding, depending on how long you press the button for. And it's kind of that combination that really makes good bound bowl times. And you can already see Kanikama knows what he's doing and is making up the time. He's already lapped Chaos, basically.
Now, when it comes to the kind of rainbow spin-esque bounces you get, where does that come into play? Because I know you don't always want to go for them.
You don't always want to go for them, and you don't always get them either, because you kind of have to build your way up to those rainbow bounces, right? You have to be already bounding rather optimally in order for them to even appear. But the best places to actually pull them off and do them is around the corners, because you'll kind of launch yourself towards the straighter parts of the track. But you don't want to do them on the straight parts of the track because you just kind of bounce upwards, and that tends to be a little bit slower. So you opt for some of the more like the smaller bounds on the straight parts.
Gotcha. And it looks like you were being nice to Cass. He ended up with a 103 there. I did not see what Kanikama ended up with. But
Kanikama ended up with a 53, and that put him ahead.
Wow.
It's amazing. Like we were saying last race, you don't really think about the bound bowl because it's just like a section you have to get through. But those seconds really make a difference, and it just turned this race around.
Yep, again, Chaos has not really made any major mistakes outside of taking a little longer to clip in Metro and Snow. It's just those little optimizations that Kanikama is privy to that Chaos may not be fully aware of just yet.
Indeed. Kanikama having a little bit of difficulty with the bunny here. The optimal strat here is to do a spin throw and then roll towards the bunny. But you can make him go the wrong way if you're a little bit too far to the left, which is what happened to Kanikama just now. Ooh, and Kanikama pulling up the reel too early. Chaos is getting a couple nibbles on this fish, giving him a bit of a hard time, but Kanikama getting first bite on the second try.
Near synchronized fishing.
We're going to be synced on that moon grab. A lot of moments like that in this race here.
Attaboy Chaos.
Doing what he knows. Going for the snowdram here. And he gets it, of course.
Very nice. I was a little worried for that one.
I thought he looked a little bit low.
Of course, Snowdram is one of those things where everyone has a bit of their own style to it. Personally, I like to stay a bit higher in the air.
Yes.
But I know plenty of people go low like Chaos just did, and it works out just fine.
And that was an excellent comparison. I think Kanikama did that timer challenge as optimally as he possibly could. Of course, Chaos did Snowdram just as well as he has ever done it. And you can see that they were synced after that fishing moon, and now Chaos is 2 seconds ahead. It's very, very cool to see that kind of stuff play out in a race like that. And Chaos is holding on here. There are a couple of places that he's losing time to the small stuff, but just managing to be slightly ahead after all of these kingdoms.
Yep. Seaside, I predict, might be a little bit rough for Chaos. This one is drastically different.
And this is the one he's scared of, so it'll be interesting to see how he manages here.
Kanikama's a Gushin there. I'm not sure if that's safe.
It should be okay.
Okay.
As long as it's sitting on the platform, it's fine. I've been in situations before where I collect the moon. I leave the Gushin in the air and dive to the platform and get the moon too early, and because he's still floating in the air, it causes problems. But as long as he's sitting on the platform, he should be okay. Or not. Oh, wow. Interesting.
Again, so the Gushin will despawn there if he's too close to the story moon upon collection.
Indeed,
So
yeah.
you want to try and dump him on the ledge of that lower platform instead of more towards the center.
And it looks like Chaospringle got rid of his Gushin, and so did Kanikama. It's very possible that they will not be going for the new route. Yeah, Chaos is going to go for the classic route. Kanikama following suit as well. Like it was mentioned before, there's probably about 10 seconds of time save in doing it the new way. Oh wow, and the moon collection there was a little bit shaky from Chaos. Kanikama pulling just slightly ahead now as a result.
Yeah, we got to know where to aim.
Indeed.
That one can be very satisfying to collect if you just slam dunk right on top of it.
Yes.
Good to know that we will be seeing our good friend Captain Toad in this run after all, though.
Indeed.
After dissing him in Snow Kingdom.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't destroy his house, so he stayed warm.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the keeping the peace that's important here.
I didn't think about that. That is very thematic.
Leaving bench friend behind on his bench alone is not very thematic, if you ask me, but no. Sometimes you gotta make sacrifices to bring peace to the world.
I feel like Bench Friend's an understanding guy. He knows that there's a greater cause at hand here.
Indeed. Oh no!
Oh, Chaos did not land before taking off again, and now he's going to be low on water.
Oh no, he's gonna have to go get another Gushin.
He can't get up that ledge.
He's gonna try and jump over there, but that's not gonna work for him. He's gotta
go
get another
This is
Gushin.
A massive time loss.
This is a huge one, yep.
He's gonna have to get a Gushin all the way over there, bring it back to that platform, and then lift all the way back up to Captain Toad again.
Oh no, this is tragic.
And he's going to have to stop for water as well, because normally you refill your water supply upon collecting a moon, but that
yeah, the one on the cliff there. Okay, he's got it this time.
Now, I think what Chaos should have done there is just taken the Gushin to the story moon, and then I think you can reach Captain Toad without the Gushin.
I think you can. There's like a little, that railing up above there. You could probably jump up there and get to Captain Toad from there.
Definitely a less obvious solution, though, and I mean, if you don't know how to do the jump, I'm not sure how difficult it is.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the jump they do in All Unique Moons, except you approach it from the other side where there's kind of like a hill that gives you enough height to get up there. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how it goes from the other side, but we still have the Brigadier fight here. Kanikama is not going to be getting the boss clip. It looks like he did not have a very optimal second hit, which is very uncharacteristic. It's very surprising to me that these runners, or maybe he did get the boss clip. He did. Wow.
I was unaware that you didn't have to spray him at all there. I thought you did have to do it for at least a moment.
It's very
That was a really cool finish.
I guess he must have just got there just in time. He took a different approach to getting the boss clip than most of the runners I've seen do it. Usually the strat there is to beat him to the platform, but it looks like he might have just snuck in just in time. And Chaos is chasing Brigadier around the course here, having a very difficult time getting his downward water sprays. He's almost made it entirely to the hot springs without the second hit.
See, the thing about this is you have to get a little bit ahead of him, because the water does not connect immediately. It does have to reach the boss's head there.
It kind of moves in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Brigadier has made it so far along the course. He's actually not going to stop at the hot spring at all. He's going to go all the way to the lighthouse before stopping. This is going to be huge, huge time loss. This is going to all have to be made up in the last couple of kingdoms here. A very rough boss fight for Chaos, unfortunately, and it really creates a gap in Kanikama's favor.
Yeah, that's what happens with that boss fight. It is a very fun one, but you do have to know exactly what you're doing with it. But this is a massive lead now for Kanikama. This is going to take some major mistakes on his part for Chaos to have a chance.
And Chaos, like we said, king of consistency. We still have one more kingdom to go of unfamiliar territory, however, and that could increase the gap even more so, which is kind of a scary thought. But as soon as we get past Luncheon, that's where Chaos is going to have to shine, and that's where he's going to have to make up all this time again. Chaos finally leaving lunch, or sorry, Seaside.
Oh, this is
Kanikama very close there. I thought that was a bonk. I thought that was
but that was a very awkward situation.
We're looking at about 1.5 minutes of separation now between these runners.
Of course, the great thing about this game, as a speed game and as especially as a speedrun racing game, is there are mistakes you can make in the late game that will cost you 1.5 minutes. So it is truly not over till it's over.
That is very
as
true.
Unlikely as it is for those to happen.
Yeah, the hope is that you get those strats down consistent enough that you can avoid those things, but mistakes always happen. It's always interesting to see how runners tackle that particular stair climb there.
It is a very awkward segment.
It is.
That mountain is just a little too tall to be easily jumped over. Oh, yes, Chaos taking a tumble. Okay,
Chaos taking a tumble. Kanikama also taking a bonk on that pillar. Not a big deal. Nothing dangerous about doing that particular mistake. And even little things like, you know, any percent runners are familiar with this cheese section and just glazing right over it in order to clip through the cage. But getting a turnip over there in World Peace, approaching it from the other side is a very tricky thing to do. So Chaos is going to have to deal with cheese, which is something he perhaps has not done in a very long time.
Now, would it actually be optimal to still go for a turnip clip on World Peace?
It would, believe it or not.
Okay, by picking one up by the shop then.
That's right, and you would pick up the turnip, you would place it just so that you can gain some speed with like a long jump or something, and then triple jump over the lava, throw the turnip, and then time like a cap dive just in time to make it across the gap. But it's very, very tight. It's very possible that you might not make it across, or you might end up throwing your turnip into the lava or something like that. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and that's why most runners will not often go for it.
Kanikama not quite making over that wall. No biggie.
No biggie, he's got the backups. Oh no, and Chaos.
Poor
His
Chaos.
first Panbro got killed by the other one. Now he's just working his way through the cheese. Getting pretty good RNG.
Yeah, that was quite lucky. I'm very happy that on 1.0 you do not have to mess with that cheese, because the Panbro throws are random.
Indeed. You can try and mitigate the randomness by like standing closer and just like throwing one at a time. I find that that's probably the most consistent way of going about it. Doesn't make it any more fun, that's for sure. I kind of envy not being able to do turnip clip for that reason alone, just because cheese is hard to deal with. You've got spinies and all sorts of things like running around. It's just like it's not a very fun portion of luncheon.
No, not at all. Kanikama entering phase 2 here of luncheon.
This here infamous jump across without Cappy, making sure that you remember you don't have your hat is a very important thing.
As we saw with Luke last race, you do have to keep in mind the travel time.
That's right. And the optimal strat here, Kanikama is actually going to go for that. There's not really much of a time difference. If you are very early at the timer challenge, though, you can just kind of roll across to those mountains instead of waiting for Cappy to do the fork fling. It does save a tiny bit of time over being slow at the timer challenge. Kanikama is kind of committing a couple of minor movement issues, it looks like. Just a couple of failed spin pounds and maybe some bonks here and there, but he's still got a rather commanding lead over Chaos in this particular chunk.
Just a touch of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Nice...
You need a little bit of spaghetti in your diet, right?
Yeah, he deserves a snack.
That's right.
Oh.
Kanikama just a little bit too late on that fire bro. You can just like spin dash directly into that torch. A very quick thing to do, but it doesn't always work out for you.
All right, Chaos. Finishing up the timer here. Let's see if he gets this jump correct.
Oh yeah, he's good. And he's gonna do the fork fling. Oh no! Oh my goodness. That is riskiness.
That would have been very nice if he just had a little bit more height to get on top of there with a dive.
Alright, Kanikama approaching the dreaded Cockatiel fight here.
Just get some bless RNG for good hitboxes here.
Yes, indeed.
He's on pretty good pace. I'm not familiar enough with the category to say where he's at in comparison to his PB, but...
yeah, I mean, judging the fact that he's made a couple of rather big mistakes in places like Luncheon, or not Luncheon, sorry, in Wooded, and I think the Boston Seaside was a little bit slow, but aside from that, he's been on very good, consistent pace.
Yeah.
For the majority of this run, so
certainly at least sub 120. I would imagine sub 119 as well.
It's potential. There's potential there.
Oh, that hit right at the end. Thank God he had 2 HP.
Yes. That's another reason. Like, chalk it up to the many reasons that this boss fight sucks. Is that you can just get hit by invisible stuff. It just like you don't even see the stuff that's coming out of Cockatiel's mouth, and it just like hits you in the face. Also, Chaospringle showing us his incredibly good Koopa free running abilities here.
Chaos might want to just take the easy road here. There you go, bud.
Yeah, he's got it now.
All right.
Doing a double jump. Hopefully that gets him enough height. Yeah, he's good. Okay. Even going for the Potaboo strats.
Not quite as easy as it looks.
All right, so it looks like Kanikama is going to leave Luncheon at 102.15, or sorry, 49. Compared to the world record pace, that's about a minute and a half behind. So it looks like 120 is still very possible and on the table, or sub 120 rather. And we are entering the 80% portion of the run.
Chaos not having too much trouble with Cockatiel here. Just one more hit for him.
An important thing to note, I didn't know this in my casual playthrough, but this going underneath him and hitting him in the belly, that's a strategy you can use to kind of hurry him along into this jumping phase. Definitely a neat addition to the boss fight, but just like his face hitbox, his stomach hitbox is just as bad, and sometimes you can chase him around the stage for a couple seconds. But Chaos actually didn't have very much trouble with that at all.
Yeah, I'd say that was a great fight. I mean, really, if Seaside just went a little differently for Chaos, this could still be a very close race. That launch-in was not bad at all from him.
Indeed. Yeah, just a couple minor movement errors, but really nothing quite as bad as what happened in Seaside. It was like really unfortunate that the boss didn't work out, and it was even more unfortunate perhaps that he lost the water in his gush and had to find a new one. But now he's in familiar territory again. If Kanikama makes any huge mistakes, this is the time that the gap is going to close. I have no doubt in my mind that Chaos is capable of pulling out really good late game kingdoms here. So even though there's about a minute and a half of difference between these guys, it could close very easily. There's still a lot to go yet.
Yeah, probably gonna require some major Robo-Brutal shenanigans from Kanikama, or perhaps some deaths on some of the trickier jumps in Bowser's.
Yeah, at least.
This is really, Chaos has his work cut out for him, but...
Yeah, this is most certainly Kanikama's race to lose. Point.
Of course, ruined just being an auto-scroller. We hardly even mentioned it.
Yep.
Really
Kanikama's done with it by now.
To mention.
I mean, the only exciting thing about this kingdom, I think, is that 1.2, you can activate a Captain Toad in this arena while you're waiting for the boss. But if that's the most exciting thing this kingdom has to offer, then it doesn't really say a whole lot.
It's a shame because thematically I like this kingdom. I wish it was a full-fledged one.
I wish it was way more fleshed out than it is, for sure. And there is some post-game material. There's one extra moon available before post-game in a treasure chest kind of tucked underneath the stairs. But then there's like 6 extra moons that become available after opening the moon rock. But you don't see any of that in any of the short categories just because you need to get in and get out. And there's no need to like bulk up your moon count for any reason.
Yep.
Which is a real shame because thematically it is very interesting. They could have gone like a spooky direction maybe. You could have Booze living in here or something. Like, I don't know. They could have done a whole lot more.
I feel the same about Cloud. That's a classic Mario aesthetic that was kind of wasted.
Yeah. The sky levels in Mario are always like the treacherous platforming levels, but even the revisit to Cloud is kind of just like an afterthought, it seems.
Yep. Anyway, Kanikama's wrapping up the first section of Bowser's here. He actually had a little trouble with the ogre, which is apparently what the enemy is called.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to look like or what it's supposed to be, but an ogre is what it is, so... And then he's going to be approaching the shards portion next. I always, I'm never sure if I'm doing the optimal strategy for this because it always is just kind of a gong show. You just hope for optimal spiny placement, and it is very satisfying when you get a nice looking shards section, though.
Probably the most interesting part of Bowser's, in my opinion.
I think so, too. Aside from the boss fights. Kanikama trying to get that.
Take it or leave.
Yeah, true. Kanikama going for a dive. Cap dive in the wrong direction and missing Cappy as a result.
That can be awkward since he missed his first long jump attempt there. He kind of lost the momentum, which can change the positioning of things quite a bit.
Kanikama going for some interesting strats to get the last of his moon shards here.
That was actually very smart. I know you can get that without the Pokio there and get over the wall anyway, but it is quite tight.
Yes. Probably has something to do with your placement in comparison to the roof ledge there. But he's got his shards and he's on his way. But this is definitely going to give Chaos a little bit of ground at least.
Yep. Chaos just about a section behind. In hot pursuit. If not a little distant. Oh, Kanikama opting for the Dram strat here.
Ooh, it's a very spooky choice. But he manages just fine.
Now, I don't know how you get that dive out of the pylon in that direction. I can never make that work.
Me neither. I usually opt for a spin pound and then, like, roll dash towards the pylon.
That's what I go for as well.
Because usually when Mario hops out of things, it's the same reason why we the cactus in any percent, the wandering cactus. The reason that we push the cactus forward is because Mario tends to jump out towards the shining spot that way, as opposed to the other way. It's just like little things like that, and just like manipulating the way that the game moves Mario. Just it's kind of confusing and tricky at some points. But
definitely.
Apparently Kanikama knows the way.
Chaos just had an amazing shard section.
He did. It can't be understated.
No, I want to highlight that. That was an incredible shards.
That dive that Kanikama went for and missed, Chaos nailed it and was able to just do the rest of it with no trouble at all.
Kanikama missing both hat cycles on top roof here, but he got lucky. He immediately identified the right hat, both times.
Not always that lucky. Especially in that last phase, there's a lot of hats going around.
But I mean, Chaos is inching forward here.
He certainly is. He's only the Brutals away now. So that means if something goes wrong with the Robo Brood at the end, this could be real close, real fast. Alright, and this is always a scary chunk of the run here, the one that Kanikama is approaching.
Yep. Some more issues getting that triple jump correct.
Yeah, I always just kind of opt for the safe platform on the right side. Chaos going for the furry at strats, it looks like. Yeah, he knows all about
furry
those.
Right there. Kanikama having to abandon the big jump there. Smart choice. He definitely was not going to make that in his current position.
And all these little things are going to add up against Kanikama here. You can see that his climb is not incredibly optimal. Taking a little bit of time just to make sure that he's safe along the wall, but it's going to cost him seconds.
Luckily, he is still just a little over a minute ahead of Chaos here.
Indeed, yeah.
Even with the fall or two, he'll have at least a decent buffer.
That was an incredibly good climb up the leg there. I don't think I've seen a strategy quite like that for getting up the side of the mech. And pulling off the Goryuya strat very, very nicely. And it'll be interesting to see which version he goes for here. It looks like it's going to be Harry at first, yeah.
And is the target acquired?
Yes. Very well executed there. And the Robo Brood is down for Kanikama, and Chaos is just approaching the fight now. So he's a full brutal ahead. And I would say that this is still Kanikama's race to lose, and Chaos having a little bit of trouble with the climb, actually, but luckily landing on the leg still and making his way up.
Yeah. Now there is a timer on that, so as you can see, the Brutal started to flash white there. So if you are climbing around on him for too long without doing anything, he will actually boot you off. So time is of the essence.
Indeed. And that opens up a whole other bag of worms, because then you have to reposition yourself to get back on the leg again, and like huge time loss.
Yeah. In terms of finishing time, Kanikama is going to be very close for 120 here.
Chaos nailing that last hit very, very nicely. Yeah. Kanikama gets a 120, it'll be like just under fire.
Yep.
Yeah, 119 is still barely possible, I think.
Yep, he needs a 523 moon. Which is, it's doable. It's not the hardest time in the world to get, but it takes
certainly optimal. It requires your good vectors at the beginning, requires a moon skip that doesn't have any mistakes, and it requires getting your first pillar as well. But as simple as the moon is, there's not a whole lot of like really, really hard strategies. I'd say the Robo Brood is probably the last very difficult thing to do. Mistakes in the moon are incredibly costly at any point.
Certainly. Not quite the vectors Kanikama was looking for there, but certainly doable.
He still made it work.
Yeah.
He gets past that first moon snake. Takes a bonk, but that's okay.
So moonbox in particular are really rough with the low gravity.
Indeed, yeah. More fall time.
Yeah. It's where a normal bonk would cost you 2 to 3 seconds. I believe a moonbox more on the order of 4 or 5.
Yeah, not a friendly time loss, really. But Kanikama gets very clean moon cave skip. Yeah, it's really going to come down to that escape sequence, I think.
Yep. One death.
That's all it'll take. That can make it really close.
Chaos, I was a little worried he was just going to crane off the edge there for a second, but he is just fine.
Just fine, yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I
Should probably trust the world record holder.
Indeed. This is probably really fresh. He did this like an hour and 20 minutes ago, so.
Yeah.
Opting for this very, very spooky strat makes it look easy. Kanikama approaching the third phase of the Bowser fight. Really not anything more difficult. Like I said, I think the Cloud one is more difficult than this one is. There's just an added fire throwing sequence, but like we said, the fire is a very minimal hitbox, so it doesn't really factor into anything.
Yeah, with the Cloud one, the first phase especially can have a tight timing window.
Indeed,
on
yeah.
Getting into the right position in time.
Because he doesn't actually throw his cap at you until you're right in front of him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this particular fight, he throws it immediately, and it gives you a lot of leeway to kind of like play around with the movement in order to get to him. But you have no risk of him like stealing his cap back, because it'll be in the middle of the arena. And
we're in escape for Kanikama.
This is it.
This is it. Again, about two major points of a potential time loss. That being the whole 2D section, 2D skip especially, and the pillars and a potential fall right at the end.
Yeah, when they start crumbling away, especially if you get the early pillar, all the moon rocks tend to kind of start to fall, And as long as you've got careful footwork, you'll be okay. But I've definitely seen runs die there. Kanikama makes that look easy.
Nailed it. Chaos finishing off Bowser here. The casual 1 HP. No big deal.
Yep. Pulling out the clutch strats.
Oh, this is going to be very close for sub 120 on Kanikama's end.
Yeah. He's going to have to pull out BTT pillar room, basically.
No, it's not looking good so far.
Nope. A couple of missed fireballs there. He's still going to get that first.
He's just
down.
going to go all the way over.
So long as he doesn't fall anywhere, we will have a definitive winner of this. But because Chaos is in the escape, if a mistake happens here, it will cost the run. And Chaos will come out on top.
Chaos going for 2D skip right now.
Nails it. And Kanikama is on the final platform. It's pretty safe to say that nothing is going to go wrong here, and it's going to go in Kanikama's favor this time.
Missing the 120, but definitely securing this race quite handily.
Yes, one of the best times we've seen in this tournament actually so far. A very good showing from Kanikama. The only real mistakes coming out of this particular showing were the two deaths in Wooded right before the tower.
Yeah, that was definitely a severe time loss, at least 30 seconds there.
Indeed. And then it all came down in the end to Chaos's lack of knowledge of the category, I think, at the end.
Yeah, that was definitely the killer.
Just Seaside was the total killer. He didn't totally know about like the Gushen's height manipulation, and it kind of cost him a whole bunch of time there. And he definitely showed that he's capable of making the time up in the later portions. In Bowser, he definitely had a better shards movement. Kanikama also took a death in that particular chunk, but it just wasn't enough at the end.
Absolutely. Finishing almost exactly 1 minute behind when he was down about 2 exiting Seaside.
Indeed. It goes to show just how consistent and well Chaos can play.
No. Now, unfortunately, Kanikama is not available for interview, but we should be able to get Chaos in here to fill us in on what happened. And there he is, Chaos. How are you feeling?
Pretty tired, to be honest.
I bet, yeah.
I've been playing for 13 hours straight, I think.
Wow.
Dude, that is nutty.
It was worth it for that world record, though, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that Bowser's is pretty good, but I got an input drop on Mac, which is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were saying that the shards was very clean, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Seaside was fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that, yeah.
We did think that this race was going to come down to the unfamiliar territory. Seaside definitely seemed like unfamiliar territory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so I assume you're aware of the Gushen mechanic where he must land before he goes higher.
No.
Just slipped your mind.
I forgot that was.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
tragic.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think I was gonna win anyway. I just want to have some fun, you know.
Yeah, certainly.
It's all about putting in a good showing, so, show up for the tournament and, get to do something a little bit different every once in a while. So it was a lot of fun to watch the race. So, and it was really close to everybody's credit. Up until Seaside, you guys were about 2 seconds apart. So it was a very, very tight race until things started to go south. So
Swapping the lead back and forth.
Yeah, it was fun. Had a good time.
Indeed. Well, unfortunately, that means you take the loss. Kanikama is going to move on to the next round. We're going to have some more matches of this World Peace Tournament Round 1 coming at you tomorrow. We have 3 separate matches throughout the day. It'll be very
Right in a
interesting
row,
to see.
actually.
Right in a row, yeah. 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be hitting you with those matches. They're going to be the last of round 1, and that'll be it for the preliminaries, I suppose you could say. After that, round 2 starts on Monday the 15th. It's been a wonderful day of races. We've had a lot of good stuff. The task results were very, very interesting, to say the least. It's very cool to see how optimized those things can get.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to say adios for tonight. Thank you guys all for watching, and we will catch you here at Speedrun's SMO tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, see you all then. And again, GG's Chaos.
Mm-hmm.